This video is 5 common mistakes that advanced trainees make. I've been training upwards of 35 years now. I certainly have my thoughts on some of the mistakes that advanced guys, men and women, make. So I want to share with you, when I sat down and thought about it, there were 5 of them that kind of jumped out at me. The first one is regarding a logbook. Okay, so if you remember last week, I talked about beginners should use a logbook. They should track their progress. As a beginner and even intermediate, you should see your strength going up repeatedly just from enhanced neural connections in your body, things of that nature, very, very common knowledge stuff. But what I see with some of the advanced guys that use logbooks, you got to realize when you train 15, 20, 25 years, eventually you get to the point where you just don't get a lot stronger. If you did, then we would all be benching 1,000 pounds, squatting 2,000 pounds, but that's just not reality. And I see a lot of guys that are still using their logbook and they're frustrated and they look the exact same. And then what happens is basically it turns into injuries. This is the pattern I see. I hit my logbook today, but I tweaked something, or I didn't hit my logbook numbers today, so this workout was a failure. And I think when you get older, you can't think in terms of just harsh numbers as being your dictator for success. I think it's dictated more from consistency. Training hard, not missing workouts week after week after week. And a lot of times, like for example, if someone, let's say they're squatting, let's say they do 315 for 8. And then the next week, let's say it's 7, that's all they can do. But they get ugly form and they get the 8th rep and then they want to beat their logbook, so then their form gets real ugly to do the 9th rep. I don't personally think that's improvement. I think you just expose yourself to potential injury. Now, if you would have stopped the set at 6 reps or 7 reps, say it was 7 reps, I wouldn't call that a failure if you were still working hard and you did the best you could and got the most reps you could with good form. So I just think when people start, they should be very numbers focused and form focused. And then I think as they get older, they should be more form focused and just effort focused. As long as you're putting in the work consistently day after day, forget the logbook. You know, if I took a logbook to the gym and if I didn't, like I don't set PRs very often now. If I did, if I was always trying to, I guarantee you I'd be hurt. And the guys that have, told me, you should be, those guys are all having shoulder surgery now, they're having neck surgery, they're having knee problems. So just don't be so engrossed in the numbers. The other thing I see from guys that are older, they tend to be stubborn. They don't have open minds and they don't have any real variance in their exercises. Sometimes when I post a different exercise, people will say, well, that's useless. It's not a squat. It's not a bench press. It's not a row. Maybe it's not your typical meat and potato exercise, but there's a reason why I'm doing it. And a lot of times when you do the same movement patterns over and over, you start getting a little nagging injuries, you start getting tendonitis, and that can also lead to injuries. But here's the thing. Your body is an adaptation machine. And the older you get and the more you train, the more it's adapted and the harder it is to continue to get it to grow. That's facts. The same thing as with strength is true with adaptation in terms of hypertrophy. You can't just get stronger every workout forever. You can't increase the reps you're doing every workout forever. How cool would that be, benching 315 for a set of 100 if that was the case? The same thing with hypertrophy. Your body, if you're doing the same stuff over and over and over, your body will get used to it, the same exercises. So I think varying exercises is a great way to introduce a novel stimulus to your muscles, something it hasn't seen. It's not muscle confusion, but it is a novel stimulus. If you don't believe in novel stimulus, think about when you're maybe in track or football and you're running flat on a flat surface. And then all of a sudden you had to run a hill. Remember those days? Remember how sore you got from running on the hill? That wasn't muscle confusion. That was just a novel stimulus. That was something your muscles weren't used to doing. That novel stimulus effect is very important for advanced trainees, I believe. When I do the same workout, like if I do it 3 times in a row, I can generally tell it's losing its effect. Something felt great after 2 weeks, and then like the 3rd week, it's like, not so good now. When I was younger, I could do the same thing 12 weeks in a row, and it'd be awesome. But as you get older, listen, just keep an open mind, vary exercises. If you're stuck on something, you don't think it's helping you, change it out, do something different. Don't be so stubborn, all right? The next thing I wanted to talk about is overeating. Now this is interesting because, in bodybuilding, we've always been taught to power shove. It's just a matter of a caloric surplus. There's all these people out there that say it's just a numbers game for food. You just got to have enough calories. So when people aren't gaining a lot of muscle, they start shoving more and more calories down. That's okay to a degree, but think about what's happened to an advanced person over the years. Think about how much time they spend in a caloric surplus. And what I see with these people is a lot of digestive issues. All kinds of stuff. It could be something like constipation, or it could be something as serious as IBS. It could be various versions of colitis, ulcerative colitis, just things like that, Crohn's disease. But you start seeing leaky gut. You start seeing a lot of digestion kind of related issues, and even your immune system issues. But I think that being in a constant caloric surplus decade after decade, I think catches up with you. I really do. So instead of just eating more and more and more and more, I would caution people with that approach. And I would say, make sure the food you're eating is absorbing really well. Make sure you're paying attention to your digestion and all those things. Get that in order first, as opposed to just stuffing down calories and eating more Big Macs. Actually, if I were to rank these, this would probably be number one. The other thing that I think advanced trainees do wrong is, especially nowadays with social media, they have this image that they want to portray that they're hardcore. And I've seen this a lot in the past 2 or 3 years. They don't listen to their body. So what will happen is somebody will have like a little bit of a nagging injury, and they'll say, well, I'm still going to deadlift for Instagram. Or I'm still, maybe they have a bad lower back, but they're still going to squat heavy for their Instagram. And they're just trying to look hardcore. They're saying, you just got to work through the pain or whatever. Listen, there's good pain and there's back pain. And when you have bad pain, that's your body talking to you. If you ignore it, you're going to get injured. It's going to be a major injury. Just the fact that you've been training 10, 20 years means just by nature of working hard, you're going to have some injuries. The goal is to just keep them minor. Tendonitis, you're going to get tendonitis. You're going to get strains here and there. That's just part of training hard. But you want to minimize that. You don't need tears. Like, there's no rule that says you have to have a muscle tear. Like, that's not a good thing. If you tear a muscle, you can't train, you can't make progress, and then you have a muscle that looks bad. So, but that's what I see a lot with the older guys, is they're just not listening to their body. And again, they're not changing their exercises. I'll give you an example. Like I can't put a heavy bar on my back anymore to squat. But I can still do a hack squat heavy. I can still do a leg press heavy. So as much as I love squats, and as much as it's not hardcore to leg press, I know that it's going to enable me to train longer. I'm going to be able to keep training harder. Whereas if I was stubborn and I went there and said, I'm going to squat, I don't care how bad it hurts, I know that I probably wouldn't be able to get out of bed now because my lower back would be so bad. So again, listen to your body. Listen. If something, your body almost always tells you when it's about to go. So just listen. And the last one I want to say is, I start to say it's no time off, but it's kind of around no balance in your life. So bodybuilding itself is kind of a selfish sport. It doesn't have to be, but it often is. People kind of think the world revolves around them. They forget about all the people around them, which is a very, very sad thing. They think they have to be selfish. So that's all they focus on. That's it. There's nothing around. They don't focus on their family. They don't focus on their friends. They don't go out to eat because of all the bad food at restaurants. They just lose perspective on what's valuable in life. And when that happens, some of those people might go to a contest and they might win. And I've been in this situation when I was in my early 20s. I won a contest. I drove home with the trophy in my truck, just me and the trophy. It was a very hollow feeling. It wasn't a cool feeling at all. I didn't have anybody to share it with. So I try to tell people, especially when I go to seminars, like you can't forget the people around you. You can't forget your close friends, your family. Like you can't do that. So what happens is these people, they don't get any fulfillment out of training or bodybuilding. They have nothing to share, nobody to share it with, no fulfillment. They're not happy. And then they get kind of just burnt out and they quit. And I've seen that happen a lot over the years. They get burnt out, they quit, and you never see them again. And usually you can trace that back to someone who didn't pay attention to what was going on in their life. Now, I've been doing this for 35 years now, and I think what saved me was probably listening to my body, because when I felt something funky, I didn't try to push through it, and keeping my life balanced, keeping those important things still important to me, not ignoring them. I think probably those were two of the things that really, really helped me. So, quick summary, don't get overly dependent on a logbook. Make sure you're rotating exercises. Don't overeat all the time. I know you might want to be in a caloric surplus here and there, but doing it year round is probably not a good idea when you get older. Listen to your body. You don't have to be hardcore on social media all the time, and keep a balance in your life. I think as an advanced trainee, if you keep those kind of 5 things in your mind, you really focus on them, I think you're going to be okay.